be having a continuation of, more like a continuation of our last week topic. But today we'll be talking about the consequences of handling debt negotiation without a professional. Last week we talked about if you as a person can handle your debt negotiation with your creditors by yourself. So today we want to look at what are the negative effects, what are the consequences, what are the risks if you decide to say, okay, you want to personally do this debt negotiation yourself with your creditors. Definitely, while you're saving yourself the stress of your paying a professional, you might actually end up being in more problems or even having more complications. So today I want you to pick your pen, and then definitely I want you to write down a few points, keep it to yourself, think on it more better before you make that decision. Yes, I mean that decision. So like you all know that debts can be very daunting, stressful, and the financial stress, even the psychological effect when it comes to debts, the way it is. Now you're looking at saying, okay, yes, you want to personally take the lead of saying, okay, you want to go and talk to your creditors yourself about the debts, to sit down and talk about how you can make the payment. You also need to know the fact that there are some things you might not know because you are not a professional in that line. You are not experienced. You don't know how these calculations, how this negotiation is going to be done. So you need to, it's not just like you having a round table meeting with your creditors and they're saying, no, this is how much you are doing. And you're not looking at the future effects of even checking yourself if you'll be having that capacity or if you have the ability to meet up. Because at the end of the day, when the creditors are saying, okay, yes, we agree to your terms and conditions, and you can no longer meet up with the rules or the concession or the laws they might want to put in place, then you will find yourself back to the beginning again, more like back to square one. So as a person, as an individual, who he or she is thinking or willing that you want to go and have that negotiation, with your creditors, the first thing I need you to know that if you don't have a professional, if you don't consult an expert, definitely you will be lacking you'll be lacking knowledge and expertise. And what do I mean? Debt negotiation, it involves you understanding the financial regulation, how it works. You need to know your interest rate, how it's being calculated. You need to know everything in detail. And you as a person, your own mindset, the calculations you do to yourself is definitely going to be different from what the professional will do. So you need to, as a person, you might end up making that mistake of not knowing that right way to do the calculation. In fact, you might even get lost in how is when the creditors are telling you this is what it is, and you're like, oh, this is the way it should be. It might end up, you might get confused. You might really get confused. So as a person, you need to know that one factor that you not having adequate knowledge because you're not an expert, so you're not exposed to it. And another point is incomplete understanding of debt laws and regulation. Yes, there are laws binding debt. So you need to know what laws is binding the creditors. Okay, are these creditors even cheating me or they are not? So you need to know, and you cannot know all these things in just one time reading. You need to take your time to study. And mind you, while you're doing all this research and study, your debt is counting. But because there's a professional out there who is already helping you, who is in charge, the person already come up with the structure plan, already know the pros and cons, knows the timing. But you as a person, you might not really know what time is the best time to do to get those structures in place. Now, another factor that you need to look at, there is also like a major risk, is limited understanding of credit strategies. The question is, do you have idea on how your creditors work? No, you are not living with them. you've not worked with them, you don't know. So as a person, you might be thinking, oh, I don't need a professional, I'm just going to go there, do this talking myself. You don't know what your creditors is thinking. You don't know what creditors might want to come with. You don't even know how they are going to give you the rules and regulations. It is a professional that will tell you that, oh, these rules and regulations they are giving you, see, let's run away. Or no, you know what, let's renegotiate, let's talk more, let's give them our own plan. So let's hear what they're going to say. It's a professional that can do that. But you as a person, you don't know. And you also don't know their response, because you can't predict your creditor's response. You don't know if your creditor will say, yes, we will do, or if they will say, no. So going back and forth, is time consuming. Another thing is incomplete debt assessment. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that the fact that you know, you might really need to take your time to know how this debt assessment is going to work, like you coming up with a proper repayment structure. So as a person, you are just looking at, okay, my income is 200,000 monthly, fine. If I'm paying 50k monthly, I should be able to pay my debt. That is your own, but you don't know what your creditors will say. So at the end of the day, if your creditor is saying, okay, we agree to you to pay this amount, if you default, you will go back to have this accumulated interest. So you need to know how this debt assessment is being done. But as a person, you cannot, because it is not your field. You're not trained in that aspect for you to be able to do that. Okay, this is how it has to be done. Then also limited negotiation skills, which is in fact one of the most factor that most people really don't look at. You might think you know how to negotiate, but at the end of the day, you do not. A professional would know if the negotiation will favor you or not. But as a person, you don't know. You're just yet to talk based on your own emotions. You want to use your emotions. Fine, your emotions might win because your creditors will look like, oh, this person has the plan to pay, is really willing to pay. Okay, let's feel for him. We feel for him. We will help you. We will understand. But you don't know how the negotiation would go, and you don't know which negotiation strategies will favor you or not. So it comes to the fact that you need a professional. That's just the summary. You need to have a professional. Don't be in that rush. Even though you're thinking of you don't want to pay a professional, the amount you will pay that professional is still going to save you a lot more of stress, a lot more of thinking, a lot more of, you know, the emotional and the psychological stress. And lastly is potential legal consequences. We've talked about that earlier, because you really don't know the rules and regulations binding debts and repayment. And also emotional tolls, yes, because you have that emotion to say, okay, yes, I want to pay. They will think about it, they will reason with you. Also, your professional, like a debt recovery person, can also win that emotions for you, and your creditors will still, you know, dance to what you want them to do. But if you're saying you want to do it on your own, it's going to cost you a lot more. It's going to cost you your time, it's going to cost you your resources, and you might end up not, you know, having that win. It's going to be more like a game theory, where it is now win-win or win-lose or a zero-sum game. So for you as a debtor, which you're planning, oh, you don't want to be in this debt, you're tired, I would advise you out there, get a professional to speak with, get someone to talk to, someone to help you think it through, someone to reason beyond your capacity. Doing that, you give yourself less stress, and then you can prepare and plan on how to, you know, get this money to repay. So today we come to the end of the session. I believe you've been able to pick one or two points. If you have any questions, suggestions, you know, kindly drop them in the comment box. We'll read them and get back to you. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful day. Bye.